Assalamu alaikum, you're watching Views and News and I'm Faisal Rehman live from our Islamabad studios. Today we'll be talking about this anti-Muslim citizenship bill in India, which has created a lot of chaos. A lot of people have died there. Dozens and dozens have been picked up by the paramilitary forces. You talk about the crackdown on the Muslim students, whether it is in the Aligarh University or the Jamia University. If you see those footages, you will get to know what exactly is happening there. The way these students were beaten, the way they were picked up, harassed, and they were thrown into the trucks and taken to various jails all over that area. Curfew-like situation is there. You talk about Assam, you talk about Bihar, you talk about Nagaland, you talk about Manipur for that matter. Forget about these states. Now we are talking about Delhi, we are talking about Hyderabad, we are talking about Mumbai for that matter, and Calcutta. These are the major big cities of India and the protests are going on everywhere. You can see the footages, you can see what's going on as we speak. I mean, this is a bill which is totally against the Muslims. And interestingly, the best part about it is that it's not only Pakistanis or the neighboring countries which are actually talking about it. The entire globe is talking about it. We'll just go through a few tweets. Last time we did talk about the tweets of the celebrities of India, including so many known names, and they all opposed it. Now this time, let me interestingly read out something what the Home Minister of India, Hamid said. Western standards of human rights do not apply to India. Just imagine, this is what his statement. Western standards of human rights do not apply to India, as if India is maybe placed in some other planet. Now, then there is another very pro-Muslim Australian guy. His name is CJ Rehman, and he says in his tweet, he says it's not like India's ruling party hasn't been broadcasting its plan to ethically cleanse 200 million Muslims. You're talking about 200 million Muslims. He further, as in another tweet, says that we will ensure implementation of NRC in the entire country. We will remove every single infiltrator from the country except Buddha, Hindus and Sikhs. Shri Amit Shah says that. Now, another tweet from Rehman. He says, India's Citizenship Amendment Act brands 200 million Muslims as infiltrators. And if history hasn't taught us anything, it's that genocide typically follows the classification of minority as such. Then from the Congress, there's another very interesting one. It says, if the aim of the act is to provide refuge to the persecuted minorities from the neighboring countries, why have only 3 countries been chosen amongst all bordering nations? And those 3 countries include Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan. Now, there are a couple of other also statements of the similar kind from the Congress. But let me introduce you to our panelists. We have with us in our studio on my right is Dr. Nazir Mahmood Saab. He's a senior columnist, he's a senior journalist. Thank you very much, sir, for taking out the time and being here. We also have with us Ambassador Ali Sarwar Naqvi Saab, who's a former senior diplomat, sir. Thank you very much. And we'll be shortly joined in by Brigadier Tipu Sultan, who is a senior analyst. But Dr. Saab, we did a show on the same issue yesterday also. Whatever is going on in Kashmir, that is a separate issue. Primarily, that is something in the United Nations. There have been 11 different constitutions, and now what we have learned that Kashmir, it's been over 4 months now. There's curfew, acute shortage of food, water, medical supplies, you name it, and the problem exists there. But Kashmir Indians always had this in their mind that more forces they deploy so they can control the chaos out there. They can practically kill this movement of self-determination. People are asking for freedom. Okay, we'll make sure that they do not talk about it. We'll make them an example. But sir, what is happening not only on the eastern side, where you're talking about millions of Muslims living there for God knows how long, and now they are considered infiltrators and they want them to be flushed out. Who is going to accept them? Is it going to be Bangladesh? What is the future, first of all, sir? And this particular CAB, sir, has resulted in protests all over India, including Assam, Bihar, Delhi, Hyderabad, Mumbai, and you name it. Sir, your take.
Well, first of all, I think it's not an isolated issue from Kashmir. It's not separate. I consider these 3 things connected. Kashmir, the Babri Mosque verdict of the court, and this issue of CAA, which is not no more a bill, it's an act now. Previously it was CAB,
Yeah.
now it is CAA. It has become an act. So these three things are connected. Why these three things are connected? Because this has been an agenda of BJP to do all these three things. They promised that they would rescind Article 370. On that basis, they tried to win the election, and they did. Secondly, they promised that they would build a Ram temple on Babri Mosque site. Again, the Supreme Court supported them, and this was their third promise in their manifesto. So these are not separate things. I see them as three connected elements.
So these are all by design.
This is all by design, and all these three things are connected. This is part of their Hindutva agenda. They want to make now India a Hindu-dominated country, and they are not ashamed of it. They repeatedly say it, and today this Amit Shah, when he said that these standards, human rights standards, don't apply to India. I mean, where is he living? Is he living in a planet? Though other countries also sometimes do this, but saying openly that we don't follow, this is again following in the line of Israel, probably. Israel also says the same thing. So first, these three things are connected. Now, there are two more important things that we should keep in mind. Well, what is more disappointing? One disappointing and one encouraging. Disappointing thing as the Supreme Court of India, the judiciary, the way it is behaving right now, they are behaving totally subservient to the BJP government. This has happened previously during Indira Gandhi's time, when Indira Gandhi imposed emergency at that time. In 1975, I am talking about 35 years back. At that time, Justice A.N. Ray, Ajit Nath Ray, was the Chief Justice. And he was superseded over three other justices. So when he became the Chief Justice, throughout his tenure, he supported Indira Gandhi in her unconstitutional matters. But after 2-3 years, when Janata Party won, they tried to correct it. So now, after 35 years, I see it as a repetition of the emergency rule that Indian National Congress, Indira Gandhi, imposed in 1975. And the more disappointing, I am not disappointed, this was BJP's agenda. So this was expected of BJP. What was not expected was the judiciary's role that they are playing right now. So this is a distressing sign. The encouraging sign I am talking about is that all over India, though this bill is primarily meant for Assam. Why Assam? Because as in one of the previous talk shows also I said that there are 2 million people in Assam who don't have identity document to prove their citizenship. And out of them, now it turned out that majority, 1.2 million, 12 lakh, 1.2 million.
Now, sir, wait a second.
Are Hindus.
No, wait a second, sir. I was reading a very interesting article. There was a story about this man who had served in military for 30 years. He was a Muslim, and he was also a war veteran in Kargil. This man, since he could not prove the identity, was served for 30 years in military, sir, was picked up by the civilian police and was thrown into a jail. Now, just tell me, sir, what is this?
Yes, so this is, I mean, this is just an eyewash. They are using identity, but they even, not only this, I was reading that even the son of former President of India, Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed, who was President of India in 1970s, he was also from Assam. So his son was also required to prove identity, and there were some documents missing, so they also declared him non-Indian, so to say. So this is happening. Having said that, why this bill now? Why this, or act, Citizenship Amendment Act, why now? Because previously they did not anticipate that there would be so many even Hindus without identity documents. So through this bill, they want to give citizenship to those Hindus. Out of 2 million without identity, 1.2 million are Hindus. Hardly a couple of thousand are Jain or Buddha or Sikhs they are talking about. So essentially, this is to support and grant citizenships to those Hindus who don't have identity card, and
demographic changes again.
Demographic changes, and at the same time show to Muslims there that you cannot get the document because you are Muslims, you have come from Bangladesh, so you go back or you go to the camps. So now,
even if you were born in India.
Even if you were born in India. So, so this was targeting Muslims. The encouraging sign that I am seeing there is that all over India, though it was targeted to Muslims in Assam, But as you mentioned, protests have happened at least in 6 major cities of India, from Bangalore,
So the
Bangalore
government of
to
Kerala, the government
Hyderabad,
of
Patna.
Punjab, Assam, they have
Yes,
refused to accept
they
this
have
bill.
refused,
Simple
and
as
which is a
that.
good sign, you
Yeah.
know. So,
A
you
lot
know,
of resentment.
when constitutions anywhere in the world, when constitution is violated, people should come out. This is not
And that is
this.
actually the true spirit of democracy. Now, Ali Sarwan
Yes.
Naqvi Sahab, let me again read out this, what he said. I mean, this is very funny in a way. Western standards. Now, please also tell us that when you talk about human rights, you slap somebody who is a foreigner or an Indian, it's a slap. He has a right. You understand? So, India is basically in Asia, and Asia is a part of this globe. And interestingly, whatever the global standards are, they also apply in India. So simple as that. You can't end up killing people and saying that, you know, Indian standards are different. Come on. It says the standards of Indian human rights do not apply to India.
Yeah.
What exactly is that supposed to mean? Aren't they the signatories of UN charters, sir?
Yes. Actually, you see, this is wrong. What he is saying is not correct even on a factual basis, because this is not the Western standard only. It is universal standard.
Correct, sir.
Number one, the Charter of the United Nations.
Correct, sir.
The UN Declaration of Human Rights. These are international standards, and they are adhered to by India. It is embodied in their own constitution that there will be protection of human rights, of the basic rights of each individual Indian. So, he is factually incorrect, and he gets away with this kind of irresponsible, I would say it's an irresponsible statement. I think the whole thing is coming to a head because the BJP government, as was said just now, had this in its election manifesto, had this entire sort of scheme of things in the platform that they won the elections on. And I think most of those people who supported the BJP thought that this was just election rhetoric, that they will take action against all minorities, and that they will put them to task as to why they have these particular ideas. There is the slogan of return to India, which meant that it didn't just mean physical, it meant that ideologically and in terms of religion, in terms of your culture, you should return to India. If you are Muslim, you should come back to being Hindu, basically. So, this kind of entire mindset was discounted by many as just election rhetoric, but that was not election rhetoric. This is actually embedded in the very philosophy of the RSS and in the philosophy of Ambedkar and Govalkar and all those leaders that they have had. So, the point is that not Ambedkar, he was the Dalit, but there was another name similar to this. The point is that these people, the BJP and the cohorts like Amit Shah, you know about Amit Shah, they say that he's even more radical than Narendra Modi.
People blame
Oh, yes.
the Gujarat killings, and people blame who? Narendra Modi. He was the mastermind, Amit Shah.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, God forbid that such a man wields power in India. The point is that they have this thinking, they are going to pursue it, they implement it as they see the whole thing. But I think they are taking on too much for themselves. This will
Do you
not
think this is
work.
too much too quickly, sir?
Too much too quickly, and this is not going to be taken lightly by the people of India, because you know the Sikhs, the Jains, forget about the Muslims, and also amongst the Muslims. I mean, you know, they are meritorious fighting men who are Muslims, who have achieved all kinds of high feats. So the Indian state, as somebody was, I think there was some article that Hindus, real Hindus, do not comprise even a majority, because if you take out the Dalits
That's the majority.
and if you take out the Sikhs, you take out the Jains, and
The
perhaps
Muslims, I mean, they make up around 50 crore, maybe
yeah.
more.
So this it's basically the Brahmins, and the Brahmins of India are only about 10 to 15%. So the Brahmins are actually trying to
So they're calling all the shots.
calling the shots and trying to prevail over the majority, the larger majority. This will not work, and I think they will come to grief, and there will be total
Should we expect
chaos.
the fallout soon, sir?
Well, it depends. These protests that are going
They're
on,
still on, yeah.
if these protests pick up steam, then there will be a considerable disruption of normal life, and that would affect the economy, and that would have a negative effect on the working of the government.
All right, Tibu sir, imagine, you just imagine a large number of students protesting, and the paramilitary forces and the police on one side using the baton sticks, or the batons for that matter, or the use of tear gas for that matter, or rubber bullets. Makes sense, right, sir, to control the mob. But when you're talking about straight firing resulting in 4 deaths of 4 students, one was burnt alive, right, sir, and another one was killed in a similar fashion. Now, this is something which is not normal, sir. We didn't hear such stories, I mean, in this part. Yes, maybe in Iraq, maybe somewhere in Syria, yes, maybe in Libya, maybe in Egypt, after the government of Muslim Brotherhood was toppled. But what I'm saying is, this is happening in Assam, in India, sir. And if you look at the footages, Brigadier Saab, the way these young students, 17, 18, 19-year-old, they were picked up, beaten and thrown in the trucks. And that's not only one footage, thousands of them. And despite the fact that there was curfew. Where are they heading, sir? What sort of an India are they up to? I mean, what sort of an India do they want? What is in the mind of Modi?
Faisal, in the modern world, you would not see religious fanaticism and brutality and criminality and terrorism compared to what is happening in India. Although the Brahmins are 10 to 15%, as the ambassador said, but they have been successfully able to radicalize almost entire Hindu population in India, barring few intellectuals and people from academia and few congressmen, all that stuff. I think the euphoria of Modi being a torchbearer of Indian progress and is gone out of the window. And what is ominous is that this man and his ruling elite in the parliament, in the lower house and the upper house, never going to stop. You are talking of people being burned alive and killing of 4 people. I wish and hope that I am wrong, but in this episode, hundreds are going to be killed.
Maybe
Because
they have
the
already
Hindus-
been killed because the reports are not coming out,
the
sir.
intent, you see, what is happening in the Middle East does not stem from a basic organization of hatred and religious fanaticism. We have seen the Arab fight, whether it is the kingship or the Baath party, etc., and the bloodbath that has taken place of Qasim and Ahmad Hassan al-Bakr and Saddam Hussein and Gaddafi, was a power game. Over here it is different. What we should think is that we are surprised at Kashmir, we are surprised at what have they done to this new law, although it was their election manifesto. I think what is ominous is what is going to come more in India and what is going to happen next, because this man, this parliament, he has got a majority, he can have his way, he is not going to stop over there, and there are no powers in the world which are ready to stop this man from doing whatever he is doing. And as somebody said that dreadful will be the moment when Amit Shah will come into, he is already in power. He is calling the shots. He is the mouthpiece of the RSS, and this hatred policy flows from him. So what is going to happen in India is to the detriment of you. You look at the history of Ashoka this time, and when the Indians were united under Babur and all that, I think it was basically based on tolerance and basically based on
They had
accommodation
some
of
values, some ethics, some
accommodation
norms.
of so many people. And Barkhadat is right when she says that Muhammad Ali Jinnah's Qaid-e-Azam's rule will be very satisfied that the two nation theories come out to be true, and the entire Indian subcontinent now agrees to what Mr. Jinnah had said for creation of Pakistan. So I think what is needed is that Muslims all across India should unite under one banner. And over here, the Shia Sunni schism that the Hindus are trying to use them should be avoided. And I think this is an opportune movement for the opposition of this madness of the RSS to rally around, although they will have to suffer at the hands of the state and their atrocities. But I think the moment is ripe for them to prove them wrong. But what I think is that the Indian government is never going to stop, and they are not going to be bothered, and there will be more killings over there.
Now, sir, let me read another thing out, Dr. Sir. There were two girls. They were witnesses of what was happening when the raid took place in the Jamia Islamia University, sir. Now, the interesting part, they said that we saw them storming the reading room on the ground floor of the Zakir Hussain library. They were throwing tables and chairs in the air, creating that fear, trying to, scare the students. I mean, this was what the police and the military were doing there. And those who managed to escape, the rest were caught and thrown in the jail, sir. Now, this is what is happening, sir.
Yes, I think
The largest democracy, forget about, because I'm not saying only Muslim students study there. There could be Hindus, there could be Sikhs, there could be from other religions as well. It's a university after all, sir.
yes, I mean, he's right when he says that Amit Shah is already in power because he is the interior minister. And
yes.
interior minister is probably number 2 to the prime minister. He controls the police, he controls the...
Technically speaking, I think
Technically
he is the most
speaking,
powerful man.
He is the most powerful man. So probably he has given to the police and a free hand. And what he's planning, and he's thinking probably wrongly, and I hope he's wrong, he's expecting it to be crushed brutally, and he's thinking that after a couple of days, when they use this brutal force, protests will die down, people will keep quiet, and the life will move on, and the bill will be implemented. That's what he's thinking. That's why this brutal force, use of force, is being implemented there. Now,
don't you think it's already in the phase of implementation, sir?
Yes, it is. So, the way forward, what will happen, what might happen? Two things might happen. One, maybe he uses extraordinary force, because it has happened in so many other countries also. You gave examples like Egypt and all. People come out on the street, they protest, there are riots, agitation, burning of public property for a couple of days or even few weeks, and then protests die down, and the rulers, they continue. That's what he's thinking. So this might be one possibility, which I dread. I hope that doesn't happen. Second option is that the protests will escalate. Why they should escalate? Though personally, I am not in favor of agitation. I am not in favor of violence.
Any sort of violence.
Anywhere.
Oh, yes, I agree. Yep.
But there are times when the state or the government, somebody says, opposite of language is violence. When you don't use language, when you don't talk to them,
You don't communicate.
you don't communicate, violence comes. So in this particular instant, BJP was so intoxicated by power and the victory in the previous election in May, that they thought that, this will be smooth sailing for them. Now that's where a strong civil society, strong student movement comes in. That's why, in any country, be it India or Pakistan or any other country, civil society is important. Strong student unions are important, trade unions are important, because they are the ones when political parties start behaving dictatorially, like BJP is doing. And the opposition is they are doing Congress, but they are not as vocal as student unions and civil society groups are. So if a country has a strong and vibrant and vocal civil society, that civil society and student union comes out to defend human rights and democracy. And that should happen in India also. So what I see, as I said, there are two possibilities. I am, of course, not in favor of agitation, but I am in favor of strong pressure groups, strong student unions, strong trade unions, strong civil society, so that they can force the BJP government to take back. And one more point we should keep in, why now? I mean, when they did this to Kashmir, there were not many protests. There were some, but not that. Now, based on that, probably BJP government thought that it was so smooth sailing. There was no international major protest, major condemnation. So now it will also, now see what has happened. Even America, even United States has condemned this bill as anti-human rights. UN has come out, Amnesty has
But
issued
their
a
support
very...
for India still continues.
Yes, but
They have dual standards as well.
no,
sir.
but I think this was one step forward. I think this time it is, the reaction is more vocal, and they will, if the agitation continues, the international community will pressurize that this bill should be taken back. So that's what I expect and anticipate.
Now, sir, India as a society, I mean, I think that concept of a secular India, it's long gone.
Yeah.
I mean, when you see the the performance of the current government, let me call that performance, because this is what they had in their manifesto. If that was in their manifesto, and anti-Muslim sentiment, they have been able to generate that to a very large extent. You talk about squeezing the Muslims, then making certain laws so that either they should commit suicide or leave the country, but go where? That's another point. The Bangladesh Foreign Ministry has also shown some concern. Obviously, it makes a lot of sense. Pakistan is another country which is definitely talking about that. But sir, this question maybe is not directly related. I did speak about this, but since you're a diplomat, I think I should put this question to you. The issue is of Islamophobia, isn't it, sir? One of the major causes of problem and chaos, I would say, in the current world. Sir, our Prime Minister, when he was in United Nations, on the floor of the House, he spoke for 52 minutes. Most of the time which he consumed during his speech was on the Islamophobia. So, right, Brigadier sir? Now, sir, there was this conference which was supposed to start tomorrow for 2 days, maybe 3 days in KL. This was the idea of the Prime Minister Imran Khan, but he's not going. A lot of people say, this been in the papers, that maybe on the behest of the Saudi Crown Prince, or maybe under the pressure of the Saudis. How do you see this, sir?
Well, there are two things. One is, of course, this broader international scenario where the conference was conceived and is being held.
And all the countries who are attending, you talk about Turkey, you talk about
Yeah.
Malaysia, you talk about Iraq, these were the countries who supported you on Kashmir, sir.
Kashmir. But then there is the other point that some people have brought up, that they have pointedly withheld invitation to Saudi Arabia, to UAE, and to...
And you know the reason, sir. You have served in that part of the world,
Yeah.
in the Middle East. Come on.
I know. That's,
People say if the headquarters of OIC were not in Jeddah, things would have been different.
yeah.
The actual problem is that.
Yeah. And I think that is unfortunate, because it is again a sign of division in the Muslim world. And all the enlightened Muslim leaders like Mahathir Mohamad, Erdogan, and the Qatari and the Iranian and all, they have all been in favor of this, and Pakistan was with them. And at the last minute, Pakistan's withdrawal from this conference is
What sort of an impression will it lead to, sir?
is going to cause us problems with
Sir, I saw a
all
picture
these countries.
of Mahathir Mohamad. He was sitting on a chair. There were two, maybe a lady and a gentleman. They were standing on the left side and the right side, and he was showing a magazine like this to the to the photographer. Imran Khan's picture was right here. There was Mahathir Mohamad. The rest of them were smaller pictures, right?
Yeah.
So he was the main man.
Yes.
And I still remember when Mahathir Mohamad's wife said, "Well, I really want to meet Imran Khan."
Yes.
I mean, but why? That's the question, sir.
Actually, you know, it must be a great disappointment to Mahathir personally also, because he was the moving spirit in calling the conference, and he was counting upon Imran Khan's presence and support. And I think we don't know how to calibrate our policies. Now, in this particular instance, if Imran Khan decided not to go for whatever reasons there were, largely Saudi persuasion that he should not.
Sir, persuasion is a very soft word. Let's use another P word. That's called pressure. Please.
Well, if you like, we can say that. But at least he should have sent Shah Mahmud Qureshi. If not Shah Mahmud Qureshi, he should have sent some other minister. You know, there are, the whole government is there. He could have had some representative go to the conference and represent Pakistan. And I don't think the Saudis have forbidden him. They must have said that they don't support this conference, they are not in favor of it.
Isn't it direct intervention in our own foreign policy,
Yeah,
sir?
yeah. And I think it would cause us problems later on with all these countries, especially in the question of support for Kashmir, because they are the ones that have supported us on Kashmir.
Saudi Arabia did not say a word.
And
You
Saudi
talk about
Arabia-
Muslim, they are the practically custodians of the two holy mosques.
Yeah.
Not a single word uttered, sir, regarding Babri Mosque, regarding Kashmir, regarding Assam, or regarding Rohingyas. It's Turkey or Malaysia, or that's primarily Turkey
Yeah.
that takes
And
the charge.
Saudi Arabia even honored this Narendra Modi
With the highest civil award.
with the highest
So
civil
did
award.
UAE and Bahrain also.
Yeah. So, I mean, they are going against the sentiments. You know, at least they should respect, if nothing else, the sentiments of the populations of the Muslim countries. And the sentiment was not in favor of honoring Modi at that time. But they went ahead and did it. So, the whole scenario is very worrying, because there will be all kinds of fissures and
I totally agree. I totally agree.
schisms and breakages and cleavages between all these parties and all these countries. And that is, in any case, the Muslims are not so united. This will further
Sir, we always blame the
aggravate.
Muslims. I mean, 57 countries. Imran Khan himself very openly said on that floor that I should blame, rather we should blame all the Muslim leadership for this.
Yes.
And when the time comes, the main man who is looked upon by most of the leaders in the world, which is Imran Khan, backs out.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia, sir, if you just do the basic survey, Brigadier Saab, the most lovable, the most likable, the most, known positive characters of the Muslim world, Mahathir Mohamad comes in your mind, Tayyip Erdogan comes in your mind, sir. All right? And when you talk about the negative perceptions about certain countries and certain leaders, whether it's Khashoggi's case or not, he admitted it later. That is
I
unfortunately.
remember that moment.
I remember, sir, there was this G20 summit 2 years ago, maybe a year ago, year and a half.
Yes.
Sir, remember that?
He was isolated.
He was totally isolated. Nobody wanted to shake hands with Mohammed
Yes.
Salman. He was, the big guy was standing like this.
Yeah.
And the only person who met him later on was Vladimir Putin, because their seats were next to each other. So what I'm saying is, sir, don't we have eyes and ears and brain?
I remember that moment when Imran Khan visited Malaysia and Mrs. Mahathir said, "Can I hold your hand?"
I remember, sir.
You know, I think we missed a great opportunity in many ways.
Okay.
I think Imran Khan is taken rather as a leader in the Muslim world, and the world knows him. Not only the Muslim world, but the West and Africa and Far East and Middle East and whatnot. And this was a great opportunity. In fact, this conference was basically engineered. It was from Imran Khan. He had a great input in giving this idea of getting there together, and it would have broadened the foreign policy framework of Pakistan in its effectivity, in its dynamism, in its approach, and in its gains, in its stature, and would have given a message to the Indians. I think what we should have done was that we should have persuaded Saudi Arabia and asked them as to see the reason as to why the attendance of Imran Khan was of paramount importance to go to Kuala Lumpur, and the committee of so many good leaders that they have good intent about Pakistan.
Brigadier Saab, because the point was that Mahathir Mohamad issued a statement saying that since the OIC, which was 110% right, Mahathir Mohamad was, I totally agree with him. He said that OIC is a dead body. It's basically useless. It's not doing anything. And it has done nothing at all, sir. To be very honest, was formed in 1969.
Yes.
Come up with one. Why was it formed, sir? Because of Palestinian issue?
Yeah.
I mean,
I
Israel has taken over the entire area, and they're still,
look
they have a
at
57 member.
Look at the geographical expanse of the Muslim world. And the European Union, the Americans would never want that this bloc, which houses so much of trade and
Whose stupidity
promise
is
and
that, sir?
population,
Is it ours or
natural
theirs? I mean, they have a
resources.
plan, they'll execute it.
So
We need to have a counter plan, or maybe some sort of a contingency plan.
You
in
remember
hand.
when Zulfikar Ali Bhutto said that you should use oil as a weapon? And when you
Anyway.
remember, it is recorded history when Henry Kissinger met him in Lahore in governor's house that you should give up your nuclear program, and he said, we'll eat grass, we'll make a bomb, and he said, we'll make a horrible example out of you. I think Pakistan has much to learn from its history.
Sir, 70 years is a pretty decent age, sir. Come on. If you haven't learned till now, then I doubt. Sir, very important point. Because, one has to call...
Before that, I would
please,
like
please,
to
please
make
go
a
ahead,
couple
sir.
of comments
Please,
on
please,
this
please,
issue.
please.
There are, I think, two more aspects that we should keep in mind. One is the Arab and non-Arab aspect. This incident makes it very clear that Turkey, non-Arab, Iran, non-Arab, Pakistan,
Malaysia.
not Arab,
Malaysia.
non-Arab, and Indonesia is also coming. The president of
Turkey.
Indonesia will be there. So probably only Qatar is there, but Qatar is relatively insignificant in front of these four non-Arab powers. So it seems to me that probably Saudi Arabia or Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince, he is looking at it as a leadership of Muslim world, as we call it.
Under his command.
Under his command is going from Arabs to non-Arab hands, be it Malaysia or Erdogan.
Are we a
or
member of
Pakistan.
Arab League?
We are not.
So, we can't be, because
We are
that's in the
not.
Arab League.
We are not.
So,
So
what
this
has
is-
the Arab League done so far, sir?
Nothing.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
So this is one point. Second point that I am making about Pakistan itself. Now all these countries are not rich enough to give a couple of $1 billion to keep in your account, which Saudi Arabia has done.
wow, sir.
So
a country
now
of 22,
for, even if they have supported
22
Kashmir,
crore people, 220 million. Wow.
now even if they have supported
So,
Kashmir,
that's right. The beggars can't be choosers. Simple
that
as
is the point. Malaysia and Turkey and Iran, all they supported Kashmir, but probably for us now Kashmir is less important than the couple of dollars that Saudi Arabia has given. This is the second point. The third point is, all
Do you
along,
think Imran Khan would have asked Mohammed bin Salman not to invest 70, 80 billion dollars in the refinery in India? And do you think he'll agree? I mean, this is what I want. I mean, okay, you want this, then do this. It's all about looking after your interests, right, sir? So,
And
quick comment
yes.
and then I'll move on, sir.
Yes.
I've got 5 more minutes.
Yes,
That's it.
and
please.
the last point that I am making is that, as Brigadier Saab also pointed out, that we should learn from history, and the history is that, we put all our eggs in one basket. So we don't have that probably skill to be present there and
And the other
still-
baskets, Dr. Saab, you have lost them. as
You have
well.
lost them. So when we were with America, we antagonized the Soviet Union. India managed to keep good relationships with
With
both.
everyone.
With both.
We can't even make, we could have gone there and still.
I mean, look at their foreign policy. They go to Iran, wow. They go to Israel, well done. I've been waiting for you the last 70 years. They go to Saudi Arabia, they go to UAE. You
And
name
we
it.
are ready to antagonize. For Saudi Arabia, we are ready to antagonize everybody else, just like we used
Why
to.
was India invited in OIC, sir?
Yeah.
Why?
This is a smooth question, yes. You see, Faisal, the point is that we don't know how to handle such situations.
Sir, we
I
are
mean, there's not a
220
voice.
million people,
No,
sir.
no, there's not one voice from any member of the government to give some kind of explanation. You see, even in the most unjustifiable situation, you can find some argument to say that, listen, the Prime Minister felt that this might increase the
Or maybe he slipped his, twisted his foot or something, ankle maybe.
increase the divisions amongst the Muslims, or it might lead to a clash of different power groups inside the Muslim Ummah, and therefore it was best not to get directly involved or participate. I'm just cooking up an argument, some way of assuaging the public opinion that should have been taken. I mean, Firdaus Ashiq Awan, the advisor, is a very hard-working lady. She at least should give some kind of
She was on screen for about
statement,
half an hour, sir. After
about
8:30
this,
onwards,
to
7:30 onwards, didn't say a word about it.
So, I mean, A, somebody should have gone. B, there should be some explanation to at least cover it up. But
To satisfy the public, sir.
yes, and nothing has been done. And they're just sitting there like dummies who don't know what is good for Pakistan.
Where's up closing remarks, sir?
I think
किन सोचों में गुम हैं आप?
Pakistan has lost a great opportunity.
Sir, we are
to
sitting
take
here
the
talking
battle.
about Assam issue, talking about what is going on, and that was a platform where you could have actually grilled India.
In the
It would have made
backdrop
headlines
of-
all over the world,
In the
sir.
backdrop of his speech in the United Nations, and he being requested to mediate between the Arabs
Iran and Saudi
the
Arabia.
Persians and the entire world, and there are so many things on social media from Britain to France to America of celebrities and all those people, icons, requesting Imran Khan to, take the baton forward and move.
And he
to-
would have led from the front on
led
this
from
forum.
the front, and I think in a statesmanship and a state has to weigh what is there strategically important and what is of tactical importance.
We've lost the train.
If
We
you
have lost the train, right?
They say in strategy that if you commit a strategic blunder, the tactical brilliance cannot compensate for it.
What a beautiful statement, sir.
Yeah, it's,
But that
you
should be
know-
the last.
If you commit a strategic blunder, tactical brilliance cannot compensate.
Very well, sir. Thank you very much. I think that concludes everything. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Ambassador Saab. Dr. Saab, thank you so much. And that's all we have for this. I'll see you inshallah tomorrow. Till then, you take good care. Allah Hafiz.